Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're going to break down a really core idea in programming, how to actually have a two-way conversation with your computer using Python. How to talk to it, and more importantly, how to get it to talk back to you.
So let me just ask you something. Have you ever wanted to just talk to your computer? I don't mean just clicking a mouse or typing on a keyboard, but really exchanging ideas, passing information back and forth like you would with a friend. Well, that's exactly what programming lets you do, and we're going to see how. Because really, at its heart, that's all programming is. It's a conversation. And I know it can seem super complex from the outside, but the main idea is something you already do every single day. It's way simpler than you think. Think about it. Any conversation is a two-way street, right? It's got two basic parts. There's input, that's you telling the computer something, and then there's output. That's the computer telling something back to you. It's just a simple back and forth. And once you get that rhythm down, you've honestly grasped one of the biggest concepts in all of programming. So let's start with the computer's side of the chat. How does Python even speak to us in the first place? How does it show us anything? Well, it uses a command called the print function. The best way to think about this is that print is literally Python's voice. Anytime you want Python to show you something on the screen, a word, a number, anything at all, you tell it to print it. For instance, if we write this one little line of code, we are telling Python plain and simple, say the word hello. The text we want it to say just goes right inside those parentheses and quotes. And boom, just like that, the computer talks back. It prints hello right there on the screen. It's simple, it's direct, and it's actually pretty powerful. You told it what to say, and it said it. That's output. Now, this is where it gets really cool. Python's voice isn't a one-trick pony. It can say all sorts of things. You can tell it to print some text, like a name. You can tell it to print a number, or you can even tell it to print the answer to a math problem. It actually does the calculation for 10 plus 2, and then tells you the answer is 12. Pretty smart, right? All right, so we've let the computer have its say. Now it's our turn. How do we give information to Python? How do we talk back? For that, we use the input function. And if printing is Python's voice, then you can think of input as its ears. It literally makes the program pause and listen, waiting for you to type something in. And the whole process is a simple three-step dance. First, Python asks a question that you've told it to ask. Second, you type in your answer and hit enter. And third, and this part is absolutely crucial, Python takes whatever you typed and stores it in a little memory box called a variable, so it can remember it for later. So here's what that looks like in the wild. Your code tells Python to display the question, enter your age, and then wait. Let's say you type in 25 and press enter. That number, 25, gets scooped up and put inside that variable we decided to call age. Now Python knows your age. So input and output. We can talk, and it can talk back. Seems pretty straightforward, yeah? Well, this is where a lot of people run into their very first little puzzle. Sometimes our conversation with Python doesn't go quite as planned. And here is why. This is the golden rule, the one thing you absolutely have to remember. No matter what you type in, even if it's a number, like 5, the input function always understands it as a piece of text. It doesn't see the number 5, it sees the character 5, and that's a massive difference. Okay, so that brings up a pretty interesting question, doesn't it? We just told Python our age. What if we want to do some simple math with it, like figuring out how old we'll be next year? Naturally, you'd probably write something like this. Just take the age it's remembering and add 1. If you typed in 25, you're expecting to see 26. But remember that golden rule? To Python, you just stored the text 25, not the number. And wham! Error. The conversation just breaks down. Python gets totally confused because you've asked it to do something that doesn't make any sense. Add a piece of text to a number. It's like trying to calculate apple plus 1. It just can't be done. So how in the world do we fix this? How do we make sure Python gets what we mean? Well, we just need to learn to speak its language a little more precisely. And the secret to doing that is something called type conversion. Type conversion is, well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's our way of changing one type of data into another. It's like telling Python, hey, I know that thing you just heard looks like text to you, but I need you to treat it like a number from now on. And these are our main tools for the job. We've got int to turn things into a whole number or integer. There's float for decimal numbers, and string can even turn a number back into text if you need it to. For our age problem, that int function is exactly what we need.
Now just look at the difference here. On the left, you've got our broken code. On the right, the fix. See that change? By wrapping our input function inside of Ensna, we're telling Python, okay, listen for the user's input, and whatever they type, I want you to immediately turn it into an integer before you store it in the age variable. And just like that, age plus 1 works perfectly. Okay, we've figured out how to talk, we know how to listen, and now we know how to clear up any misunderstandings using type conversion. So let's put all these pieces together and have our first real, complete chat with Python. And this is what it looks like. A beautiful, successful conversation. The program can ask for a name, ask for an age, correctly convert that age into a number it can do math with, and then print out a perfectly helpful sentence using all that information. That's a real conversation. So let's do a quick recap. Remember, print is for output. That's Python talking. Input is for input. That's you talking. The absolute key is that input always comes in as text. So if you want to do math, you have to use int or float to convert it. Getting this right will help you dodge so many common errors.
So you now have the fundamental building blocks. You know the rules of the road for having a conversation with Python. The only real question left is, what are you and your computer going to talk about first?